everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another crafty video. So today's video is going to show you a little bit about the Tim Holtz glass media mat that I just got, and I just opened it up and took it out of the box. Some of the ways that I use my stamps, because I'm a hoarder. Probably a nicer way to say that is I'm a collector, not a user of stamps. So I'm trying to rectify that, and I think I found a way. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that, talk a little bit about that, and show you guys some of the Christmas cards that I've made so far and some of the mistakes that I've made along the way. Crafting is not perfect. It is very much a trial and error process, and I do have a lot more errors than I care to admit, but that's part of the whole entire process, is figuring out what what supplies go best with what types of cardstock, limitations to different supplies, and just trying to stretch your creativity. So in doing all of that, you do have a lot of trial and error. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of those things too, while we kind of look at some of the stuff that I've done for Christmas cards. So anyway, let's first talk about the glass media mat. So here it is. It is 23 by 14. It's huge. This removable craft sheet did come on a piece of plastic, and unfortunately it did leave a mark up here. It left some of the glue behind from this, so I'm hoping that I can just get that off. Right now I haven't been able to, but I haven't tried to scrub it yet. I just kind of tried to scrape it off with my nail. I don't want to ruin it. But anyway, so there is that craft mat, and if you lift it up, and you probably can't see this on the screen, I'm trying to see if I can, let me see if I can move you guys in a little bit closer and see if you can see the grid on the screen. So that is the palette. So there you can mix your colors, and it's almost like having a paint palette on here, and it wipes up so easily because it's glass. So then you have the craft mat where you can mix things on top of it, and I don't do alcohol inks, and I know there's one, I don't think you can do alcohol inks on here. I think you have to do alcohol inks underneath, but I'm not positive. I know that Amy or Savvy talked about it in her video on this. But like I said, I just got it, just pulled it out of the box, so I don't have really any interaction with it yet, other than just taking it out of the box and it being huge. So what was here initially was a cutting mat and a craft mat, or non-stick craft mat, and that's on the other side of the crafting table at this point. I do have 3 of these Heidi Swap green mats, and it just has a little bit of give to it, so it helps with stamping. I have 2 on the table and 1 on the desk behind me. I'm not sure if this is where this is going to stay. We're gonna evaluate it. I'm gonna do some stamping and see how it stamps on here. There are surfaces that are, even with the MISTI, that are better for the MISTI, so I want to see if this is one of them. And if it's not, this is generally the area where I stamp in. So I'll either move this over to the craft desk behind me, because that's where I have all my inks and my paints and stuff like that, and then I can use it standing up, or I'll move it to the other side of the crafting table where the cutting mat is now, and just switch those back. So anyway, that's a little bit about the mat. Now, I wanted to talk to you about what I've been doing to use my stamps. I have a basket of stamps that are on the floor right now that have Christmas stamps in them. And then I have a basket over to this side that has unused stamps in it. And they're huge. I have so many that are unused. I actually started putting them away, and then I pulled some stuff out for Christmas, and I realized that a lot of my Christmas was unused, as well as other stamps. So what I've been starting to do is, when I get a new set of stamps, I have been taking my really thick cardstock. So this is the 110 or 120 pound paper, and cutting it in half and making it 5.5 by 4.25. So just cutting the 8.5 by 11 down, right down the center, and then just stamping. What I've been doing is taking the stamps and lining them up in my MISTI about halfway through, and then I stamp them twice. This is going to help me practice coloring for these stamps. Now I can use, because it's the thicker paper, and I've used a black Copic friendly ink, which is the MFT, let me see if I, okay, the MFT Extreme Black ink. This is Copic friendly. It's also watercolor safe, and it's also pencil safe. So even if I probably wouldn't do watercolor on these because this isn't watercolor paper, but you can use the Zig 2A glue pen, the Zig clean brush markers on this. You can use Copic markers on it. You can use other alcohol-based markers on it, and you can use pencils with the ink. So that's kind of what I've been doing, is just trying to stamp out as many images on the page as I can. This one I got a lot on. You can see I kind of turned some images and put things in little nooks and crannies. So for this one, I do have a Brother Scan and Cut. I didn't buy the dies for any of these except for the nail polish one, but that's a little bit different because I bought the larger set, which does actual card base. So it doesn't really have this die in it. But so I can color these, and then I can cut them out with my Brother Scan and Cut, or I can cut them out and then color them, whichever I prefer. So that's really what I've been doing with my stamped images. And then at night, I will sit and I'll color. So I'll color some images and then in different color schemes so that I have a couple things ready when I'm ready to make cards. Like this one's obviously for Christmas, and I've tried out a couple of different color combinations. Like you can see down here, the tree here is different than the tree here. I tried a lighter one and then a darker one. I tried a gray fireplace because that's kind of more what's trendy. And then the red fireplace, which is a more traditional one. I tried the fire in darker oranges, and then in the lighter oranges with some more yellow in it. That one obviously has more orange than yellow. And then did a lighter green here versus the darker green here. Tried to do some shading, tried to do different things, just so that I have pieces when I need them, and hopefully they'll be for the right color combination for the card that I'm going with. Or I can just take these and, say, okay, this is the color scheme I'm going to go with. So I'll probably do a green Santa suit here, which isn't traditional, but I have the traditional red one up here, and it's just good practice. So it gets me into the habit of coloring at night when I'm sitting there watching TV, and my job, I work from home, so a lot of the days I really don't leave the house except to go walking. So by the end of the night, I really don't feel like coming down into the craft room and coloring. But if everything's upstairs already for me, so I can sit on the couch and just sit there and color and kind of be lazy about it, it makes it so much easier. So what I'll do is I'll stamp images when I'm either down here, or I even take them upstairs and I stamp them upstairs on my coffee table or on my island. So it just makes life easier for me that things are already stamped out, and I can just take my time and experiment with color combinations and see what I like, and see if I like Copic markers versus using colored pencils versus trying to watercolor things. So you can do the same thing with thinner paper, watercolor paper. I just figured this would give me the best results for the most amount of coloring mediums that I have, with the exception of watercolor. So this is what I've been doing. So now all of these new stamp sets that I just got, the ones from Simon Says Stamp, I did cut my paper down, and I will be stamping them out with my Misty. So just a little trick, if you guys are finding it, you're like me and you're more of a hoarder / collector than user of your stamps. Just stamp things out. If you have the coordinating dies, just make sure you leave enough room between the images so that you can cut them out. If you're going to fussy cut them, it doesn't really matter. But, just kind of do it so you can color when you have time. You can take your coloring on the go. If you are not the driver and you're going on a long car ride, you can bring a bunch of colored pencils or Copic markers and just color in the car. I did try to do that on the plane, and there's one watch out for that. I did it when I went to California, or maybe North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina last year. And the one thing that I will say with Copic markers is just be really, really careful when you take them on the plane. The air pressure does something to the barrels, and I found that some of mine were not leaky before, but you have to kind of take both ends of the caps off so that the end doesn't leak. I've actually ruined a couple of things that way. I think I was calling Christmas cards last year on the flight to North Carolina, and that wasn't great because then I had a big blob of green there. It's really been happening to the greens and I think some of the reds. So, but maybe that's because that was all I had. I pretty much just bought traditional Christmas colors. But anyway, So, you know, it's coloring on the go, coloring while you're watching TV, coloring while you're just sitting and relaxing on the beach, at, you know, on vacation, whatever it is. But I find it to be very therapeutic to sit there and watch TV. You know, sometimes I just watch like reruns of old shows that I have on the DVR, so I don't really have to pay attention to the show and just kind of have it on as noise in the background and just color. So that is how I've been using my stamps, because I feel like even if I didn't turn it into a card, I've still used the image. I've still stamped it out. My stamps are dirty. I've become a user rather than a collector or hoarder. So that's one of the tips. The other tip that I have for you guys, and I don't think I've shared this one yet. So I am really big on, you know, getting my bang for my buck and coming up with great supplies that are really not that expensive. So these are the packs of Pop Dots that are at Michael's and AC Moore. They used to be like $1, and then I loved it when you could get the 20% off of everything, so they were 80 cents. I believe they're up to like $1.50 now, which still is a great price. And, you know, they have a bunch of circles in them. I believe they have 100 circles. So really, it's not that bad. I use these for dimension a lot. The nice part about it is, so here's one that all of the dots are out. Do not throw this away. You can use these pieces, it's like a honeycomb, and cut out little shapes to go behind. So these still are tacky on both sides. So you still have the glue on both sides, so you don't have to glue anything down. You can just use these. I've used these, like this is one, obviously, that I've used a part of. I've obviously cut some of these. It's nice because you can just cut off here. If you're doing a shaker card, you can cut off the edges, and you do have that straight edge at the top. So it's really, really nice to, to be able to use this. And you can use this entire piece, this piece, and, there's just so many things you can do with this. So you can stretch your supplies even further. So that was just another tip that I had. It was one of the things that I was thinking of. I made a card the other day, and I was like, oh, I don't think that I've shared that tip. Some of you guys may already know that, but that was something that I've found has been really useful, and I've been able to stretch my, supplies. I know that it's only $1, $1.50, whatever, but still, it's nice. You don't have to continue to go out and buy them. You can use every little piece of that. So that's one of the tips. All right, so now I want to show you guys some of the Christmas cards that I've started to make and talk about some of the things that have happened along the way. So some of these are from the sketch challenge that I've been doing, so you've probably seen some of them. Others are just kind of ones that I just wanted to do, and I'll walk you through and kind of show you what was supposed to happen to some of these and really didn't. So this is one of the first ones. This was a Mama Elephant stamp that I stamped out, and then there's the dies. I think it was Mama Elephant, or maybe it was Concord and Ninth. I apologize. Let me go. Oh, it was. I'm sorry. It was Concord and Ninth, because I just got my Mama Elephant stuff, and I haven't really used the Mama. No, I just ordered Mama Elephant stuff. I'm sorry. I just got the Concord and Ninth. So my plan was going to say, since it had the holly leaves, it was supposed to say Holly Jolly Christmas. So the first one that I did, I stamped out the Christmas, and I stamped it out in a red MFT ink. It might have been like chili powder or something like that. It was one of the darker reds. So I stamped out Christmas, and I used my Misty stamping tool, and it didn't stamp out perfectly. So I masked off the Merry again. So that's, that was a plan. But because this swoops down and this swoops down, I kind of had to go around it. Well, I must have missed some of it, and when I stamped it down the second time, the Merry was very, very faint. So I thought, do I want to start over? Do I want to just ink up the whole stamp and then do that? It turns out I had to start over anyway, and the same type of thing happened again. So I just went with the Merry Christmas. This card clearly wanted to just say Merry Christmas, and that was it. It didn't want to say Holly Jolly Christmas. So one of the things that you could do is you can cut your stamp. It will go back together. It's not going to harm anything. I just didn't want to. I just was trying to do the short version around it, and I messed up, and I just went with it. So I did this, and then this is a piece of paper from Recollections cardstock. It's one of their Christmas packs, so I just thought that would look cute with the holly leaves because it's the green. There's a red one and a green one, and I just thought the green would look nice on a red card base. So that was just it, and then I went around it with Lucky Clover Distress ink, and just kind of, these are from the dies, and this is Festive Berries, and this is Lucky Clover. And then I just went around with a little white gel pen to add some little detail. And then I also used some of the Nuvo drops for the middle of the berries. You can see that they're nice and shiny. There was a little white mark underneath before, and I think I might go back and put it in, because you can write on top of this, so I might go back and do that. I believe you've seen me make this one. I think that I made these on a video, and this was from one of the designs. I only did one of the two, I think. I don't think I finished the other one. Yep, so this was one of the ones. I have to do the second design challenge, so maybe I didn't show that to you guys. But this is just one of them. Again, this was supposed to just be circles, and then I found a die, like it was supposed to just cut right around the edge of the circles. This white border is not part of the actual stamp. So I just found a white circle that would go around it because I didn't have one that would cut right along the line, and it cut off some of the tree and the Merry Christmas. So I just decided to take one that was a little bit bigger and improvise, and this is, you know, this was just a scrap piece of paper. These were all from Recollections, and I used a border die, or a sentiment die for this. So just one of the things that, you know, you kind of adjust on the fly. Here's one that you guys, I'm pretty sure I posted something about this. This one was one of the designs, and let me show you the other one. I did a square one and a traditional A2 size card. This was from the same sketch. And this one I used a turnabout stamp set. And then this one is from, I think these are Sunny Studio stamp designs, and then I just colored them in with Copic markers. These ones are all done with ink. The background you can just fill the inks in, so I kind of just did that. I kind of messed up a little bit in some of them, so I kind of just hid that behind the deer. This deer is a die from, I don't remember what the die is from. I'll figure it out and let you guys know. And then you guys did see these two. These were the first Christmas challenge design that I did. You saw these ones. This is one that I used all dyes for, and ink, dyes and inks. So I used Distress Oxides in the background for this to create kind of like a night sky. And then this is all black. And this is from the same dye company that the deer is from. I have the die set. Hold on one second. I have a die from that company over here, and it is Spellbinders. Hard for me to think of. So these are all Spellbinders dies, and then I just used some glitter paper to do this. It was glitter paper, not glitter tape, because you could use glitter tape for that too. And then this one is a card design that I like, not necessarily the actual design of it, but the fact that it's a long card and that you have a lot of room to design on it. It's not very long, it's not very wide, but it is long. And I think I'm gonna do some of these with some ornaments hanging down. And I like this because the bow looks like it has dimension. I took some of this is actually a darker card, it's the same color cardstock, and I actually took some Distress Oxide and went over it to kind of just give it a little bit of shadow, and then use the white gel pen to kind of define the middle of the bow, like where the knot would be, and then went around the J and the Y with the white gel pen. This background here is created from a stamp from Concord and Ninth, and I just stamped it over and over again so that the image, and it's nice that the image is kind of like almost like interlock. So, and I also, I used an MFT stamp ink pad for that, and then this background is also from a Recollections cardstock. So those are the ones that I've done, and I've done them okay. Now here's one, actually here, let me show you this one. This was the original Merry Christmas. Look at how dark the Christmas is, and then the Merry was faint, and so I stamped it again, and I didn't like the way it kind of double stamped the Christmas, and I didn't like the way that looked, and that's what I ended up doing the other one. Here is the cardstock that I planned on doing. Joy was supposed to be an ombre look, so you have the lighter red, the Festive Berries up here, and then this is the Fired Brick think this is Distress Oxide at the bottom and Distress Ink at the top. And clearly I didn't like the way it looked. It wasn't blending very nicely, so I just kind of inked up more of this with the Fired Brick, or the Festive Berries, and then just use that to cut out the berries and the J and the Y. So again, these are things that when you start something off and you have an idea in your mind, you're like, this is exactly how it's gonna go. And then you start designing and you realize that that's not what happened. That's not how it's gonna go. And then obviously I just inked up some Lucky Clover ink for here. This is Distress Ink, and just cut out the leaves from that. So keep these little mistake pieces because you never know. You can use these to cut out other things, other berries, obviously other leaves here. You can use the back for other things. So I keep these scraps around. Now this is one that I had a great idea of. I was super excited about this. This is the sweater. Let's see, sweater background. This is Cozy Christmas stamp set from Concord and Ninth, and I wanted to use this. And I thought, Distress Oxides look really great on darker cardstock, and they also look great on craft cardstock. So, all right, let's give it a try. So I used, I think Lucky Clover again, Distress Oxide. Number one, that does not look very green. It looks more like greenish blue. In person, it's like a teal color because of the background. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing that is what color is the background. Probably on the black, it would have kind of glowed a green color, but this kind of made it like a bluish green. So that was number one. So I started out with this row here. Let me see if you can get this closer. This row here. And I stamped it out, and look what happened here. It's all smudgy. That didn't happen until I think I drug it was in the Misty, and I think I drug one of the magnets over it, and it smudged. So I didn't realize it until after I started doing more of it. I don't like the way that looks, and it's kind of terrible because it's in a bad spot. Like if it was in the middle here, I could cover it up with a sentiment, but I just kind of kept going with it just to see how I liked it, how I liked lining this up, if I had to line these things up differently. And then I went back in and saw how easy it was to do the pieces here, and this is, I believe this is Festive Berries, but it's not a Distress Oxide, it's a Distress Ink, and those take paper differently. Those take to paper differently. So, you know, it was a trial and error. I do like the way this looks. I think it would look really nice on a black piece of cardstock, but just not like this. And I just have to be careful, really careful of the Distress Oxides, giving them enough time to dry, because if you can see, they did smudge in a couple places. I have some smudging down here, definitely the most here, like you can see it outside. This wouldn't have bothered me too much, but this one really bothers me. So as you're going and you need to kind of remember what supplies you're using and how long it takes for things to dry, because I am the worst with becoming impatient. So things like that, just, you know, it's one of those things where it was a total learning experience and it was great for that, but now I'm more aware of it and I maybe will use a different background next time, maybe heat set it, maybe even heat emboss it so that it will dry quicker and I won't have smudging. So just a couple of tips for you, you know, how to kind of go with the flow when you make mistakes, because mistakes are always going to happen. Like I said, it's trial and error when you do this kind of stuff. So I'll try to include more of those things in the video because I like, when I watch other people's, I like that. I like them being realistic because it's very annoying to watch somebody whose card comes out and it's perfect and everything, and then you try to recreate it and it's like, I can't do anything right. That's how I feel a lot of times when I watch other people's videos. So I love when they're truthful and they leave the mistakes in. I know that everyone has mistakes and everyone messes up and has to start a card over, or, you know, just try to make it work or cover things up. So I like to try to be as real as possible with you guys and let you know that it's definitely not perfect. I do have a lot of these type of things hanging around. Now I will keep this because there's a chance that I could use, I do have the dies for this, so I could use some of these and like just pop them up on other things. So I can cut some of the better ones out and use some of those in my projects. So I always keep things like that. I'm going to put a bin together of like imperfect projects and see how I can use them. I'm also going to create a folder for these on the images that I've colored so that I can go back and just quickly see if there's anything that will work with my color scheme, or when I'm having kind of in a creative rut, I can go back to these and say, oh, I really like this. Like, can I create a card around that? Can I create a card around just an image that I colored maybe months ago? I do have these little bins, and I'll probably use these. Don't mind this. I work for this company, so I have a couple of these. These were new items a little while ago. I do have some in here that I've started, and like I stamped some things out, some die cuts, some things that I colored. Like, I absolutely love this little guy. But last year, or maybe I did it after Christmas last year, but I had nothing to put him on, so I kind of kept them in here. Actually I have several of these. Maybe I colored too many, but I want to use these this year. Like, look at how cute these are. These are adorable. So, and I think that these are probably some of the best coloring that I've done with Copic markers so far. So I keep these little guys in here, and then, when I need something, I can just go back here and see if there's something that matches the card design that I have. I think I probably have more in here too. So that's another thing. Find some, oh, this one is masks. I did a lot of masking with the ton stuff last year, so I left all my masks in here. So if I can reuse them, I just leave them in here. So this is a mask one, and this is a die cut bin. So I probably have to get maybe some more of these. I'll have to see if I have more of these empty canisters. There was no product ever in these. These were just ones that I was sent to show my client. But, I want to keep these kind of things and keep myself organized like that. And maybe I'll just start like having some bins, or, getting myself more organized if I really start liking this and really keep up with it. So I know this was a little bit long. It was almost half an hour. There was a lot of stuff that I went over. I showed you some Christmas cards, some mistakes, and some of the new products. And hopefully I will be able to use this and let you guys know how this works, if this really works in this area, if I think it's going to be moved or whatever. So thank you guys for sticking with me. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below or send me a private message and I will get back to you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon for another crafty video. Bye!